Good evening, everyone. I'm Eugene B. Martinez, and I'm from Group 1, and we're going to tackle the history of global politics, creating an international order. So let us observe this picture. Kinsa ka ni sila? I know kabalo mo kinsa ni sila. So, hiingon na lang. Kani sila is mga global leaders ni. So, they are having a meeting. Siguro urgent, important kanina meeting, kay mga series na kay mga noun. Um, Unsa ka ang ilahang kaning giistoryahan. So, sa akong opinion, I think they're talking about saang makaayo sa ilahang country, kung sa ilahang ika-provide nila sa ilahang mga tao, kung sa ilahang maayong ambag or mabuhat para to have a better country. Maybe ang uban ay nag-agree, na iban nag-disagree. So, mao to siya. So, let us explore. So, politics and history are inextricably linked. Kumbaga, di gid ni sila magbulag, di gid sila mag-separate. Kumbaga, uyab ni sila nagi forever sa ilahang duha. So, politics is the history of the present, katong mga recent past, mga bag-o lang na nga human. So, history is the politics of the past. Katong 10 years ago, itong mga past na mga human na jud, as in. Pero nagyapo yung mga important sa to nga mga lesson. So next is, so there are benefits of understanding the history, especially sa to ang mga estudyante. So first is the past and the recent past. Dako jud kay ni kataban sa to mga students, because it helps us to make sense of the present by providing it with a necessary context or background. Kumbaga, makabalota kung um, makabalota sa kung like makahatag og kaning mga knowledge ato sa mga mo abotay pa lang or sa karon na mga nahitabo sa government, and to know the background ay nila sa ilang mga nabuhat, kung maayo ba sila. So, second is, history can provide insight into the present circumstances and guidance for political leaders. So, dili inday sa ato ang mga estudyante makatabang ang pag-understand sa history, kundi apil sa mga political leaders na mga mudagan. Makadugang sa ilaha og kaning knowledge tong or information sa ilahang mabuhat tong mga human na nahitabo, ilahabang usbon or ilahabang dungagan. So, history nakahatag yun og dako nga lesson sa ato ang mga tao, especially katong nahitabo sa Marawi, or what we call in Marawi Siege. Kabalo gid ang sinahitabo dito. And dugay jud to man. It took 5 months long paghulat ang mga tao para mahapsay ang ilahang lugar. So nagka-crisis yun kayo dito, like wala kay sila kaunon, nagkulang ang ilahang mga gamit, haka sila mamalit, ug naglisod og kaning recover ang mga tao kung saon nila pagsugod sa pinakauna. And one of the best examples is the people power revolution. Kahatag pud og dako nga impact sa atong mga tao, especially sa atong country, because it has also positive and negative effects sa ato ang lugar. Like, the positive effect is mabut-an ang mga government sa atong kinabuhi. I mean, dili na mabut-an sa mga government ang atong kinabuhi, like di nila ba control atong livelihood, kung asa ta magtrabaho or uban pa. Then ang mga tao na nay power sa ilahang position. So the negative effects po is naiuban mga tao is like nagrebelde because they're against the government. Gusto nila ang ilang kagustuhan masunod, like lapas na sa balaod. So katong sa Marawi Siege, President Rodrigo Duterte does a serious commitment to stamp out terrorism nga nakahatag pud og kaning unimaginable grief kunuhay and horror to many Filipinos. Yes, daghang baubed nga hadlok ato. So it is really important to us to understand the history, especially kanang ang politics, because buhon pohon basin na imo dagan sa toa, I mean na imo mo sulod sa politika. Important jud kayo ang pag-understand sa history kay makatabang mo sa toa to wag makatabang madungagan ang atong knowledge on how are we going um, to serve our country better. So that's all.
Hello, good morning. I am Janilin Gilargo from College of Agriculture and Forestry, major in Animal Science. So I am one of the Group 2 representative. So for today, I'm gonna discuss the study of international relations. So internalization does not equal globalization, although it is a major part of globalization. As explained, globalization encompasses a multitude of connections and interactions that cannot be reduced to the ties between governments. Nevertheless, it is important to study international relations as a facet of globalization because states or governments are key drivers of global processes. As you can see in these images, we have here a flag, the flags of the countries, different countries. So, and the other one, it's the technology and degrees. And here it's a meeting, something. So, internet. So, as it was being said, internalization does not equal globalization because, as we can see, even though there is no international relations or communication through countries, but there is some networking, or there is no communication between the leaders of the governments, of the different governments of the countries. There is still a connection um, between the technologies that we have now. And next slide. So, the study of international relations. So, international relations is a field of study that addresses the most global inequality, the ending global environmental catastrophe. To name just a few of the most obvious, the key concepts that organize debate in the field are also some of the most contentious: power, violence, sovereignty and state empire, genocide, intervention, inequality, justice, and democracy. So, as you can see in these images, so we have here a naitaw nga there is a person nga gabit-bit og ladder, and the other one kay taas, which is as I look at this image, in the first one image, I am seeing the inequality of the two people, or is what's being said nga, the inequality of a different countries. As we all know, there are countries that developing countries, and there are those high state countries which is more powerful than those developing countries. So we can see power, violence, sovereignty, and states empire, and even the genocide or the genes of the people, or that is a Filipino, that is a poor country, the justice kanang murag gina-degrade ta sa laing tao or sa laing country because of our genes, because we are a Filipino. Gina-degrade ta because of our country or something. We are just, in this case, we're facing poverty, while the other countries are facing we're facing a very great life. And as you can see in the other image, some are in the buildings, and some are squatter area and full of garbages. Then here, what international relations are today is largely defined by events that occurred as far as 400 years ago. Oh, kay ga-define yun sa mga events or sa mga nahitabo before ang kung unsa maganita karon, because all of those history of the internationals, they are the one who is communicating and building or constructing what we are now. This constructing, or kanang sila ang ga-build in order for the contemporary global politics being emerge, global politics system emerge, and key concepts, development, peace, conflict. So, and that is my part. Thank you.
Global politics. Global politics has two meanings. First is global means worldwide, having planetary significance. It refers to politics that is conducted at a global rather than national or regional level. Therefore, it focuses primarily on the work of organizations such as United Nations and World Trade Organization, which have a near universal membership, and on issues such as environment and the economy, where interconnectedness has gone. The second one is global means comprehensive. It refers to all elements within a system, not just to the system as a whole. While such an approach acknowledgement that a significant range of politics interactions now take place at the global level, it rejects the idea that global level has, in any sense, transcended politics at the national, local, or any other level. The dimension of global politics. Our system made up of multiple politics units. Whether these units are empires, city-states, or nation-states, they are forced to coexist. In any absence of an overarching authority. This means that international relations are fundamentally concerned with the issue of political multiplicity. From national, regional, international level politics, global politics make up global orders which regularize practices of exchange among discrete politics units that recognize each other to be independent. These orders have existed ever since politic units began to interact with each other on a regular basis, whether through trade, diplomacy, or exchange of ideas. As a resort, as a result, it becomes the guiding question to ask on how order can be generated in an environment that is fragmented rather than unified. In this sense, world history has seen great civilization to evolve, flourish, and collapse, which then guided by orders.
Good day, everyone. In this part, we're going to talk about the attribute of today's global system. 4 key attributes. World politics today has 4 key attributes. First, there are countries or states that are independent and govern themselves. Countries such as the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, People's Democratic of Algeria, Argentine Republic, and many more. Second, these countries interact with each other through diplomacy. Diplomacy, a diplomatic mission or foreign mission, is a group of people from one state or an organization present in another state to represent the sending state or organization officially in the receiving state. In practice, the phrase diplomatic mission denotes the resident mission, namely the embassy, which is the main office of a country's diplomatic representative to another country. Third, there are international organizations that facilitates these interactions, like the United Nations. The United Nations mission is to maintain international peace and security, protect human rights, deliver humanitarian aid, support sustainable development, and climate action. Fourth, beyond simply facilitating meetings between states, international organizations also take of their own. The United States, for example, apart from being a meeting ground for presidents and other heads of state, also has specific agencies like World Health Organization and the International Labor Organization. Nation state. A sovereign state whose citizens or subjects are relatively homogeneous in factors such as language or common descent. Countries such as France, Egypt, Germany, Japan. The origins of system can be best understood in the study of nation-state. This concept is not as simple as it seems. The nation-state is a relatively modern phenomenon in human history, and people did not always organize themselves as countries. At different parts in the history of humanity, people in various regions of the world have identified exclusively with units as small as their village or their tribe, and other times they see themselves as members of a larger political categories like Christendom or the entire Christian world. The nation-state composed of 2 non-interchangeable terms. Not all states are nations, and not all nations are states. The nation of Scotland, for example, has its own flag and national culture, but still belongs to a state called the United Kingdom. Closer to home, many commentators believe that the Bangsamoro is a separate nation existing within the Philippines, but through their elites recognizes the authority of the Philippine state. Meanwhile, if there are states with multiple nations, there are also single nations with multiple states. The nation of Korea is divided into North and South Korea, whereas the Chinese nation may refer to both People's Republic of China, the mainland, and Taiwan.
Good day, everyone. I am Danilo Naturabao Blumungo, and this is the continuation of Leah Mangilala's topic, which is the attributes of today's global system. So, what are the differences between international politics, world politics, and global politics? So, there are no real differences, they all overlap. So, meaning to say, any differences are due to the slightly different nuances between the terms international, world, and global. So, international is a politics between nations. So, for example, India and Pakistan, the US and China, Greece and Germany, and so on. Perhaps the kind of thing you may expect to see happening in United Nations building. So, in other words, it focuses on how the power or how power operates between states in the international arena. While world politics is the condition of the relationship between countries around the world, and global politics, the working of power relations between power and superpowers, perhaps implying some tension. So based on my research, these three terms explores fundamental political concepts such as, power, equality, sustainability, and peace. State. So in layman's terms, so state refers to a country and its government. So, for example, the government of the Philippines. So, state has four attributes. So, first we have it exercises authority over a specific population called its citizens. So, when we say exercises authority, the state has the power or right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience or laws towards its citizens. Second, it governs a specific territory. So here, the state is the ones to conduct the policy, do actions, and affairs. Third, a state has a structure of government that crafts various rules that people, society, follow. So, for example, in the Philippines, the Philippine national government has a three branch. So, first branch is executive branch and president. And next we have legislature, a bicameral legislature with the House of Representatives and a Senate. And lastly, judicial branch with the Philippine Supreme Court presiding over the federal court system. And lastly, the state has sovereignty over its territory. When we say sovereignty over its territory, the state has the authority or the power to govern their territory. So sovereignty, sovereignty here refers to internal and external authority. So when we say internal authority, no individuals or groups can operate in a given territory by ignoring the state. So what does it mean? So this means that groups like churches, civil society organizations, corporations, and other entities have to follow the laws of the states where they can establish their parishes, offices, or headquarters. And its external authority, sovereignty means that a state's policies and procedures are independent of the intervention of other states. Meaning to say, so for example, Russia or China, for example, cannot pass laws for the Philippines. So same goes with the Philippines. The Philippines cannot pass laws to Russia, neither Russia or China. So on the other hand, we have nation. So according to Benedict Anderson, the nation is an imagined community. It is limited because it does not go beyond a given official boundary, and because rights and responsibilities are mainly the privilege and concerns of the citizens of that nation. So being limited means that the nation has its boundaries, which means its characteristics is in stark contrast to many religious imagined communities. So anyone, for example, can become a Catholic if one chooses to. In fact, Catholics want more people to join their community, and they refer to it as the call to discipleship. But not everyone can simply become a Filipino. So why is that? So for instance, an American cannot simply go to the Philippine embassy and convert into a Philippine citizen because the nation often limits itself to people who have imbibed a particular culture, speak a common language, and live in a specific territory. We have nation and states. So it is the idea of a homogeneous nation governed by its own sovereign state, where each state contains one nation. So when we say sovereign state, it operates the state here operates its own independent nation without interference from foreign powers. Nation and states are closely related because it is nationalism that facilitates state formation. So state becomes independent and sovereign because of nationalist sentiment that clamors for this independence. Excuse me. So the term here, nationalism or nationalist perspective, means it holds the idea of that each nation should govern itself, free from outside interference, or in other words, self determination. So, sovereignty is a political concept that refers to dominant power or supreme authority, thus, became the primary organizing principle of international politics. It meant to study the implication of international system being divided into a collection of states. So states engage with one another in an environment known as international system. All states are considered to be sovereign, and some states are more powerful than others.
The concept of Europe. The concept of Europe is to prevent another war and keep their systems privileged. The royal powers created a new system which restores the Westphalian system. These pictures below is the example of Westphalian system. The concept of Europe was an alliance of great powers. We have United Kingdom, Australia, Russia, and Prussia. They sought to restore the world of monarchical, hereditary, and religious privileges of time before the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. More importantly, it sought to restore the sovereignty of state. Under the Metternich system, this person named Clemens von Metternich, who was the main system architect. The concert's power and authority lasted from 1815 to 1914 at the dawn of World War I. Westphalian system established our modern international system. It declared that the sovereign leader of each nation's state could do as she or he wished within its borders and established the state as the main actor in global politics. While Metternich system balances the power in international relations by drawing upon the ideas and ambitions of each great powers. Despite of all the challenges that the Napoleon to the Westphalian system and the eventual collapse of the concert of Europe after World War I, present-day international system will house traces of this history. Until now, states are considered sovereign. Still, others imagine a system of heightened interaction between various sovereign states, particularly the desire for greater cooperation and unity among a people. This desire is called nationalism.
Good day everyone, I am Bea Faitano and today I'm going to discuss with you the Treaty of Westphalia. Peace of Westphalia, European settlements of 1648, which brought to an end the 80 Years' War between Spain and the Dutch and the German phase of the 30 Years' War. The peace was negotiated from 1644 in the Westphalian towns of Munster and the Osnabrück. The Spanish-Dutch treaty was signed on January 30, 1648. What happened? In 1648, all hostilities entwined in the Holy Roman Empire were brought to an end. The treaty allowed rulers to determine the religion of their own lands. This gave Calvinists their long-sought legal recognition while denying it to sectarians. The treaty asserted the major part of the religious settlement of the Peace of Augsburg in 1555. This is the map of Europe after the Peace of Westphalia in 1648. Who was involved? The treaty worked in favor of many Calvinists. The independence of the Swiss Confederacy and the United Provinces of Holland now put the treaty in full effect by transforming it into a law. This treaty had a big impact on Germany. By confirming the territorial sovereignty of Germany's many political bodies, the Treaty of Westphalia perpetuated German division and political weakness. Austria and Brandenburg Prussia, however, gained international significance during the age of the treaty. During this time, distinctive nation-states firmly established the competitive nationalism of the modern world. How does the Treaty of Westphalia show religious disunity in Europe? The Treaty of Westphalia confirmed the power rulers had over their territory in Germany and divided the lands. The treaty increased German division and political flaws into the modern period. As rulers were allowed to choose the religion of their choice for their lands, the people of Germany followed different religions and therefore were not unified. The Concert of Europe. As the Napoleonic Wars come to close in the second decade of the 19th century, the great powers of Europe, the Britain, Prussia, Russia, and Austria, started planning for the post-war world. To bring about a balance of power in Europe and prevent further conflict, they developed what became known as the Concert of Europe, beginning with the Congress of Vienna. The Congress of Vienna dissolved the Napoleonic world and attempted to restore the monarchies Napoleon had overthrown. The Congress was the first occasion in his history where on a continental scale national representatives came together to formulate treaties instead of relying mostly on messages between the several capitals. The Concert of Europe, despite later changes and diplomatic breakdowns a few decades later, formed the basic framework of European international politics until the outbreak of the First World War in 1914. These are the key terms. Balance of power, a theory in international relations that suggests that national security is enhanced when military capability is distributed so that no one state is strong enough to dominate all others. If one state becomes much stronger than others, the theory predicts it will take advantage of its strength and attack weaker neighbors, thereby providing an incentive for those threatened to unite in a defensive coalition. Great powers. A sovereign state recognized as having the ability and expertise to exert its influence on a global scale. They characteristically possess military and economic strength as well as diplomatic and soft power influence, which may cause middle or small powers to consider the great powers' opinions before taking actions of their own. Concert of Europe, also known as the Congress system or the Vienna system, after the Congress of Vienna, a system of dispute resolution adopted by the major conservative powers of Europe to maintain their power, oppose revolutionary movements, weaken the forces of nationalism, and uphold the balance of power.